Hello there again. I am Dr. RJ, Monster Veterinarian, and I'm here to answer your questions about your monster, cryptid, or kaiju. Without further ado, let's begin. My first question is from Jeffrey Crayon of Sleepy Hollow, New York. Now, he says, I got my daughter a horse, and my wife suggested I get her a headless horseman to keep her company. Well, that's a great idea. No one handles a horse better than a headless horseman, and they're all the rage in Sleepy Hollow. I can confirm that. We got him a phone to communicate with us via text. That's a very good idea, considering that they don't have any mouths, so good solution. Uh, they had a lot of fun together, especially when that horseman blisters people with pumpkins. Those ride-by jack-o'-lantern throwings are just classic horseman. I love watching them explode all over people. It's hilarious. Horseman, gotta love them. However, there's always a however. That's why you're writing me, right? Because there's a problem. Uh, our horseman started missing his head. Oh, well, that cranial separation anxiety is actually a lot more common among horsemen than you might think. Uh, he sees people with hats and sunglasses and nose piercings, and he gets upset. He texted that he wants a ponytail. He also wants an earring. He stole a pair of earbuds even though he has no ears. Stealing, well, that's serious. A kleptomaniacal cryptid can be a big problem. I'm getting very worried since I woke up to find the horseman measuring my head. Uh-oh, that is a problem. I'm getting bad vibes from this. Yes, you definitely should be getting bad vibes from that. I've been locking my door at night. Good idea, the best idea ever. My neighbor woke up from a nap in his yard in his hammock to find my horseman standing over him with a bowling bag and an axe. Okay, this is getting out of hand, I can see. How do I handle my horseman's head envy? Big headaches in the hollow. Jeff from Sleepy Hollow. Well, Jeff, first let me say horses make nice pets, but monsters are the best pets. I'll take a monster over a horse every day. Although there is that ghostly white stag of England, which is kind of a combination of both, but that's neither here nor there. I digress. Anyway, the using the phone for texting is very clever for a creature with no mouth. It's a good solution, just as long as there's no facial recognition software necessary, because then that could be a whole other issue. So, but good thinking. Now, we need to solve the problem of your horseman's head envy while you still have your head, and your neighbor too, and anyone else who's close by. See, now, horsemen usually travel in herds of four. You've heard the expression, the four horsemen? Well, I'm not talking about Ric Flair, but the four horsemen. That's where the expression comes from, because headless horsemen like to travel in groups of four. Now, it gives them a sense of community and togetherness, and sort of a sense of pride. It makes them proud to be headless. But when you have a horseman by himself, he doesn't have his three companions, and looks is not the right word because he's got no eyes, but monsters have instinct. And he can tell that everyone around him has a head except for him. And it makes him bitter, it makes him sad. You can understand that, right? No one wants to be different. Not even a monster, right? So, what do? When your monster is sad about not having a head, you get him a head, right? Not your head, not your neighbor's head, not the head of anybody you know or anybody living. You find an alternative. So, what's the alternative to a head? Well, since you live in England, I suggest you go to Bettiscombe Manor in Dorset. I believe that's how it's pronounced, Bettiscombe, in Dorset. And there you can find a screaming skull. A screaming skull, as the name would suggest, is this floating paranormal skull that can talk and, yes, scream, of course, hence the name. So if you can catch it, maybe you need a butterfly net or something, or some kind of, maybe a attack drone, I don't know. But if you can catch a screaming skull, you can bring it home and you can attach it to your horseman. And that will fill in the purpose of everything that he wants. You can put a hat on it, you can put glasses on it, You can have face tattoos if that's what he wants. You can put a wig on it and give him a ponytail. That'll solve all the problems. It's everything your horseman could want, right? Now, there may be a little difficulty at the beginning with your screaming skull not wanting to be there. Maybe he won't want to sit on your horseman's shoulders because he's used to flying around. He might just try and float away out the window. So what you need to do initially is get some bolts, some neck bolts. Where do you get those? Well, the good people at Frankenstein House have been making bolts, neck bolts, since 1818. They have a lot of experience using bolts to attach heads to bodies. So look up the Frankenstein House and get some neck bolts and attach your screaming skull to what's left of your horseman's neck. It'll stay there, and you'll be surprised how quickly they bond. Monsters are very good at bonding. You've seen them team up to fight other monsters, right? They're very good at getting along and bonding when they're under the right circumstances. So get the bolts, get your screaming skull, and soon, before you know it, surprisingly quick, you'll have a harmonious head and body for your headless horseman, and you'll have no more headaches. Okay? So, I hope that helps. Jeff from Sleepy Hollow. Now, I have another question here from Kirsty Gooden of Liverpool, England. She writes, for our son Frank's 7th birthday, we got him a Cenobite. Well, I hope he's well trained, because those Cenobites can be really rowdy, I gotta tell you. We thought it would be good to have a monster who has a religious background. Well, I guess they do, but you might want to rethink that one a little bit, because it's not quite what you think. The problem is with the Cenobite's puzzle boxes. Those are called lament configurations, FYI. Our son has become obsessed with solving that damn puzzle box. Those things are addicting, I can tell you. I almost got caught up in one once and for a couple of days, and very addicting. He works at it day and night. He won't clean his room or do his homework or even bathe. Well, that stinks. Even worse, our Cenobite is giving them out to the neighborhood kids. He stands outside the school with those puzzle boxes hidden in his leather outfit, handing them out to unsuspecting students. This Cenobite is not well trained. Dealing in lament configurations, that's bad. He's not trained, unless he was trained by someone from The Wire. Now the neighborhood is full of puzzle-addicted kids. Portals to hell are opening everywhere, including the local church. Father O'Malley is not amused. No, I can assume that Father O'Malley is not amused by this at all. The whole of Liverpool is mad at us. What should I do about our puzzle-peddling pinhead? Puzzling problems at port, Kirsty from Liverpool. Well, Kirsty, I gotta say, you walked right into this one, because you really have to be a pinhead not to realize that Cenobites are total hellraisers. I mean, they are not for kids. You've heard of tricks that are for kids? Well, Cenobites are not for kids. So you need to kind of rethink your strategy here. I know you said you wanted a monster with a religious background, but I suggest next time you want a more religious monster, you start with something like a mummy. Mummies are religious, right? They worship the Egyptian gods, and they have these old religious scrolls, and they have religious incantations that wake them up and stuff like that. So I suggest you go with the mummy next time, because they're a lot less trouble than a Cenobite are. Of course, those bandages are harder to keep clean than the Cenobite's leather fetish outfits, but that's neither here nor there. Next time, go with the mummy, because Cenobites, not the best for kids. Now, let's talk about those puzzle boxes. They are very addicting. So, kids like them because it's cool. Kids, you know how kids are. They like whatever the new cool thing is. They like to jump on the trend. They like to be part of whatever is cool and trendy at the time. I'm old enough to remember when those Phantasm Sentinel murder balls were all the cool trend, and we were shooting them at each other with the spikes coming out. And yeah, it was a bloody mess, but good memories. Yeah, but anyway, that fad passed, and you didn't see a whole lot of Sentinel murder balls anymore. So if the current trend, obviously, in your area is lament configurations because that's the cool thing. So, what do you do to make the lament configuration seem uncool? Well, you have to use psychology. See, you have to conflate them with something that's uncool. So, here's what I suggest. Since the Cenobites are all about pain and pleasure, that's what they say, right? Pain and pleasure. Since they're about pain and pleasure, you have to conflate it with something else that's about pain and pleasure that is less cool. So I suggest you try and conflate the Cenobite and his lament configuration with 50 Shades of Grey. Yeah, that thing. The boys will immediately be repulsed. They don't like that stuff. The girls are different, but I'll get to that in a minute. As for the boys, you try to connect it to 50 Shades of Grey, right away they're going to lose interest because you tell the boys they're into something that's a lot like 50 Shades of Grey, they're going to right away start looking for something different. And you got to give them something different to facilitate weaning them off the lament configurations. So preferably give them something that will encourage them to read. So I suggest you give them a Necronomicon, which is very interesting to read. Believe me, I read through the whole thing, and but you got to make sure you don't make the mistake I did by conjuring up some things. You have to give them the children's edition. There is a children's edition that cuts out some stuff, like raising the dead, because you don't want dead people showing up at your house and looking for food handouts and, all the death and murder and chaos. You got enough of that with the portals from hell, right? So you don't want that stuff. So get the kids' edition of the Necronomicon and give it to them, and they'll be reading it out. They'll be trading them back and forth, like trading cards, and they'll have fun reading spells to each other and magic stuff, and they'll forget all about the lament configurations because of the whole 50 Shades of Grey thing. So now, as for the girls, that'll handle the boys, but as for the girls, they might actually be a little enticed and excited at the comparison to 50 Shades of Grey. So what you need to do for them is to get them something that they like even more than 50 Shades of Grey. And what do girls like more than that? They like vampires. Girls love vampires, especially young sparkly ones. I don't like those myself, but girls love them. So what you do is tell them that the Necronomicon can summon up vampires. And it can, believe me, I've had that experience, and it was not very good for me. But anyway, tell them this Necronomicon can have them conjure up some vampires. Women love vampires, especially young girls. So they'll be tossing those lament configurations aside, grabbing up those Necronomicons for kids and reading them and trying to summon up vampires. And you'll just have a ball, because vampires are great pets, and everyone knows how to handle a vampire, and much better for the younger crowd than Cenobites are, because Cenobites really need to be well trained if you're going to keep them as a pet. So just think about that for next time. And as far as the religious thing goes, not the best religion for kids. Stick with the mummies, okay? So I hope that helps Kirsty for Liverpool for that rather serious problem. And I hope the rest of Liverpool forgives you. I'm sure they'll get over it in time. As for me, I'm out of time for this week. I have a Virginia bunny man in my waiting room, and if he gets a whiff of the baby carrots I have stashed in my office, he's going to go crazy and tear the whole place apart looking for them, and I don't want that. So I'm going to have to go now and take care of him before any more chaos happens here in my office. So that's it for me for this week. I have been Dr. RJ, Monster Veterinarian, and I was here to help you with your problems with your monster, cryptid, or kaiju. Strange answers to strange questions for strange creatures. So, until next time, have a monster of a great day.